Let us talk about the difference between margin and padding. It's actually quite simple if you've understood it once. We've got an H1 and two paragraphs, example 1, example 2. Let me give a border to the paragraphs, 2 pixels solid blue. And you can see these 2 paragraphs are treated as 2 elements by the browser. And if we add a margin now, let's say 20 pixels. Now let me get rid of the white space here. These 2 elements now get separated further and further as we increase the margin. So the margin is always the distance between elements. You can set that to a specific direction, so margin top, right, bottom, left, as usual. As long as you don't make typos like I did here, it works. So here's our margin left. Here would be a margin right. So margins are always distance between elements, in our case 2 paragraphs and the H1. The padding though is the distance between what is inside an element and the element itself. So if we add a padding to our paragraph, this gets now widened in itself, so the square gets bigger as we increase the padding. Padding top would, for example, give it a padding only to the top. Here as well we could do right, bottom, left. So margin, distance between elements, padding, distance inside of elements. And most often use a padding for text elements. So when you have a paragraph, for example, and you put text inside, let's say you want to create a button from scratch or something, you can then widen this element without affecting the text and increasing its size. You can use this shorthand way of writing for both, for padding and margin. And the first value would be top, second right, third bottom, and the fourth one would be on the left. As I've mentioned in previous CSS tutorials, it goes clockwise and starts at the top. That's the easiest way to memorize this. Let us do it for the margin as well. Start with the top, which has the highest value, and then we go down as we go clockwise. So 5 pixels, the smallest distance, is found on the left, and I think that's obvious. Finally, there's also an auto function or an auto value for the margin that you can use. It basically centers elements horizontally, but it makes them somewhat collapse in the vertical axis. So if I get rid of the margin, we have this, and if I add auto, both elements are now somewhat overlapping, so the second paragraph starts exactly where the first one ended without a distance in between, without a separator. And in the horizontal axis, it has centered both paragraphs. Try that out yourself to get a feel for margin and padding. And I think once you've done it yourself, it's relatively easy to understand which is which. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.